Okie Country, 101.7 Continuous Country on its way on a Monday morning with Cliff. Lauren Rich of Rich Consulting joins me this morning. Today, we're talking about substance abuse. Good morning. How are you this morning, Lauren? How was your weekend?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Monday morning, not my favorite day of the work week, but once you get it out of the way, it's all downhill to the weekend. So.
Agreed.
So how your weekend was good?
It was good. Yeah, too quick.
It always is too quick, isn't it?
Yeah.
Substance abuse, our topic today. Why did you pick this? Why is this our topic today?
Well, we've covered some things of trauma, but we've not hit on anything substance abuse, and surely that's a problem for many people. And if the segment isn't helping people, then there's really no point to it. So I thought maybe we would start there this morning. General rule of thumb is that when it comes to trauma work, you need to be sober.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And the main reason for that is because when you come into my office and we are ready to do real work, I cannot get real work out of you if you are not of clear mind,
Mm-hmm.
and if you are leaving after the session and coping with what we've done via substances. We've basically
Right.
undone all of our work.
You're not down to the structure. You're not able to work on the structure.
That's right. That's right. That's
Makes sense
exactly
to
right.
me.
So one of the things that is really important, and my only exception to seeing people with addictions, because generally I don't, that's not my specialty area, is if it's a sexual problem. So if we have some type of pornography addiction or chronic affairs, that would be my only exception. And that's more of in that processing disorder realm, processing
Right.
addiction, kind of like gambling. So in thinking about that, no one ever calls and says, I'm addicted to X, Y, or Z because of my nightmares or my high anxiety or whatever. But in reality, people are choosing their substance based on their symptoms. So if you are someone who rides high all the time, and you have high anxiety and hypervigilance and all of those kinds of things, you will naturally choose something like marijuana or alcohol to bring you down. You will naturally choose a depressant to cope with those symptoms.
Now, do you have to be using a lot of it for it to be considered substance abuse, or is it
no.
just basically substance?
It's-
I mean, if you think about it.
It's substance, but the question is it disrupting your life? Are you losing jobs or relationships because of it? Is it a priority over going to work? Is it impacting your life negatively to the point where you are losing things, relationships, you're not accomplishing your goals, those kinds of things? And one question I always ask people is, if your body were to go without it, how would your body react? Because if you become dependent on something, then we're not just using for recreational, quote unquote, purposes.
Now, you can abuse all kinds of things, though, even coffee, right? I mean,
Oh, sure.
what if you're having coffee in the morning? It's great, kind of gives you a pick-me-up, but then you find yourself going to it, at 10, and then 11, and then 12, and then 1, and then 2, and the next thing. I mean, it can really be destructive for your body overall, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So
And
that would be an abuse, but no one would ever talk really about
well,
it.
that's because it's caffeine, and caffeine and nicotine are so openly accepted within
Come
society.
on in. We're open for business.
Yes, no one ever targets Folgers or Maxwell House like they do Marlboro.
Shame on those
Yeah.
people, right?
That's exactly right.
But
So-
I have to have my coffee. We say that. I have to have my coffee. There's all kinds of memes on social media. Don't talk to me till I've had my coffee. Stuff like that. And we almost embrace the fact that we need the substance to start our day.
To function.
And we really don't.
Yes.
I mean, because I like it. To me, it's a luxury item, and I know that there probably is a level of dependency on it to kind of kick me into gear. But I've had mornings when I didn't have it.
Yeah.
And I
So
was okay.
when you look at people that that are in your life or you yourself, you have to think about, what have I been through? When did the need for calming down start? So let's take law enforcement or veterans, for example. If you're in law enforcement, you're dealing with difficult people on a daily basis. So you already have high anxiety, you have a high level of hyperarousal, extra stimulation constantly, and then at the end of the day, you want to come down from that. And so a lot of them end up using alcohol to make that happen. And that just happens to be one of the most acceptable addictions in society.
Right, it's available on every corner. So
There's a kicker though with alcohol,
Yeah.
because it's a depressant and a stimulant all at the same time. So it's hitting two receptors in your brain, which is why people say, well, I'm more outgoing, I'm more social, I'm more talkative. That's the stimulant piece. And then it's, it makes me depressed after I've had 2, 3, 4 of them.
Right. So then you said oftentimes we use a substance because of what we're wanting it to treat. We know that
Right.
this does something. Some people become dependent on, I guess, for the substance
Some
to lift
people-
them up and put them back down, right?
Some people end up having worse issues with the substance that they initially chose to treat the symptoms than the symptoms themselves.
Right.
And I have that happen all the time. You know, people who have a rough childhood, they maybe start using marijuana at 11 or 12 and they think it's just recreational because everyone else is doing it. And then over the years, it becomes their coping skill for high anxiety and to bring them down. But then we end up with something like a cocaine addiction or an alcohol addiction, and what we chose as the substance to help us cope has now become the worst part of their mental health.
Right, I can see that. Now, does it lead, oftentimes I guess it could lead to one substance has to lead to the other to offset the effects of
Yes,
the first
so
substance,
anytime
right?
we come down, anytime we come up, we have to come down.
Now we can either with time, and due to timing, sometimes you're like, well, I can't wait for this to wear off at 3 a.m. I've got to take something now to counter this, right?
Yes.
So then there is
Yes.
substance number 2 or 3 or
Yes,
4
that's
or
exactly
whatever.
right. That's exactly that, and that's how people end up using marijuana and cocaine, or marijuana and alcohol, or nicotine and marijuana.
Well, does it like totally mess up our biological clock? I mean,
Totally mess up?
yeah, I mean, does it totally mess it up? I mean, it renders it useless, right? Because if you have, it overrides the biological clock, the
A
substance.
lot of it.
Yeah.
A lot of it. Yeah, absolutely.
I
And
mean, in your mind, you're going, man, I should be asleep by now.
well, in your mind, you're thinking, "Oh my gosh, I'm so productive. I have so much energy."
Yeah, it's 2 a.m., you know?
But that is not reality, you know, and
Right.
that's how you know when you're quote unquote riding high, is because you have a ton of energy and oh my gosh, my thoughts were so much more clear and wide open, and
Right.
clearly that is the substance.
So how do you
talking.
notice when maybe someone in your family is starting to develop a problem with a substance? Because I mean, there's different levels of substance abuse. If they were to catch it early and have that uncomfortable conversation with them,
That
could
would
avoid
go
a lot
back
of problems
to-
down the road.
That would go back to, what are we losing as a result of the substance? Are we not going to work? Are we spending diaper money on substances? Is it a priority? Would we rather stay home and drink than go to work?
Is it
all of
taking
those
time from the
things.
family? It could be
Yeah.
as simple as that.
Yes.
Being unable to spend time with the family and
Yeah, absolutely.
being trapped in the recliner, intoxicated, for
Mhm,
example.
absolutely. And you know, with the casinos being shut down because of the coronavirus, I've had people come in and tell me, I didn't realize how much money I was spending there until it was closed. And I did the math, and I was spending $1,500 a month.
Hmm.
So you really have to think about what is going to the substance, how often are you using it, what happens if you don't use it, and ultimately what are we really trying to make better? Because all it is a coping skill. And people will say, well, so-and-so doesn't have any coping skills. No, that's wrong. Everybody has coping skills. They're either good and healthy, or they're bad and they're unhealthy.
Right. There's all kinds of ways to. I mean, you kind of mentioned the pornography. That kind of leads off into a realm of strip clubs and sexual addiction and stuff like
can.
that. It's another form without a substance, though, right? Is
It
that
can.
the substance that triggers in your brain?
So that's in that processing addiction, okay? Just like gambling is, all right?
Right.
It's all about the actual process and what's happening in your brain. And it doesn't really matter what the substance is. The pleasure center of your brain is getting good, wonderful chemicals, just like you would get from chocolate or running.
I think I get more of those from chocolate than running, but I just want to throw that out there.
Sure.
But-
That's totally fair. Mine comes from sweet tea. I mean, I'll
Really?
be honest about it. Yes. Yeah. If I had to pick a substance, it'd probably be sweet tea.
Really?
Yeah.
Mine's coffee for sure in the morning.
Yeah.
Every morning I say I gotta have it. I don't have to have it, but man, it sure makes the morning a lot better.
But yes,
And
that,
plus
that
you
is
can do
the-
this.
that is the ultimate question, is how is this substance helping me? What am I really using it to cope with? And a lot of times the answer is attachment problems, childhood trauma. If you're in law enforcement, it's that chronic hypervigilance. If you come back from deployment, it's, combat trauma, whatever that may be, death, grief, bereavement, divorce. The bottom line is, it's helping you cope with something. You're
Right.
not just using it to use it.
And they can call you and you can help sort that out, because you don't just organically find yourself using this stuff. You're saying you're treating something whether you know it or not.
Yes.
Somewhere
That's
inside,
exactly right.
you're treating something. Something's keeping you awake at night. Something's putting you to sleep too early at night. Something's making you worry all the time. And with therapy, you can get to the bottom of that stuff and alleviate the problems before they get worse or even get started at all.
Yes, absolutely.
So how does someone reach you?
918-912-2266.
Just that simple.
That's
And you specialize in trauma, but
If
it
you
could
call
be
with a
trauma
substance
underneath all this substance abuse.
If you call with a substance abuse problem, either I will tell you how to find the right person, or if you are using less and less and you're working on sobriety on your own and you feel like you're ready for trauma treatment, then we can discuss that. But naturally, everything is a case-by-case basis.
Right. Lauren Rich of Rich Consulting, our guest this morning, and of course you can find them out. She's on all the social media channels, all of it. Just make sure you reach out to her. Today's topic has been substance abuse. What are we talking about next week? Am I throwing you under the bus? You
No
haven't come
idea.
up with it yet? All right, she'll be
No
here
idea.
next week. Don't miss it here. Lauren Rich, our guest this morning on Cliff and the Fun Country Morning Show. We'll look at 2 Works for You weather next on Okie Country 101.7.